42. Remnant. Terran laughed and dropped the long pole he had picked up, heaving a sigh of relief. The burning pain of the knife wound vanished, and the strength humming through him was the familiar fire, one he trusted completely. The men before him didn't seem to know what to make of the shift in his mood. Their mistake. He rushed the largest sentry, blocking the short pike he carried. He effortlessly twisted it from his grip. The man yelped, but before he could make any other noise, Terran buried the sharpened pole between his ribs. The 4 other soldiers recovered from their surprise and rushed him. He didn't pick up another weapon, choosing instead to use the men one against the other. He twisted and dodged, pulling momentum and shifting balance at the perfect moments for the guards to impale, bludgeon, and stun each other. With the sky's gift in his veins, it was too easy. "Terran!" Nox's gravelly voice croaked. "Emilia!" Terran spun and stared at his friend. "He's alive!" "Save her!" Nox ordered. Terran looked across the room to see Emilia fending off blows from the Tumulcian commander. Even in this moment of life and death, she was incredible. She held her position even as Commander Quinmark rained down blow after blow. He gathered power in his legs and leapt across the room, flying into the Tumulcian woman at full force. The woman was tall and well-built, but no match for his bulk. She flew backwards to the ground. Before he could pin her, she scuttled to the side and regained her feet in practiced efficiency. With a guttural scream, she came at him with violent swings of a gnarled club. Terran sidestepped the blows. A lifetime of training could not be underestimated, but paired with the sky's gift, there was no contest. He grabbed her wrist, stopping the next strike, and landed one of his own, a swinging elbow into her nose. Her head whipped back with a sickening crunch, and she dropped the club, hands clutching her face, and staggered back. Without giving her time to recover, he swung a kick into her jaw. She collapsed to the floor with a dull thud. With a groan, she rolled and flipped a small woven side table over, revealing one of the modified bolt throwers hidden within. He snorted and stalked toward her. No simple energy bolt would stop him. She brought the weapon around and sent a ball of energy into his calf. He howled and stumbled. What in the depths? Quinmark scrambled for space and regained her feet, unleashing another volley of energy toward him. 2 shots skipped wide, but one took him in the arm and his limb went numb. He shook it and stared at her. A taunting smile returned to her face. "Your gifts aren't so impressive after all, are they, Overseer?" Before he could even search for it, Terran felt the power within him flare in response. He dodged forward, taking 1 shot on his shoulder but avoiding the other 3. The wave of dizziness only lasted a few seconds this time. He closed the distance, and the smile the commander wore faltered. She stepped back, flailing shots toward him with greater desperation. Several hit, but nothing slowed him. Pressed in by the far-screened wall, she abandoned the weapon and raised her hands ready to grapple. With no advantage and nowhere to run, it was over quickly. Terran landed a solid hook to her jaw, and she dropped. He watched a moment, ensuring she was truly unconscious before turning back to the center of the room. The long pole Emilia was holding clattered to the ground, and she let out a relieved whimper. She collapsed into his arms with a half-strangled sob. He held her tight and pressed his face into her hair. The strength flooding his body vanished, as if someone had turned out the lights. He stiffened. He searched for the heat to pull on again, but nothing met his call. "It's gone," he whispered. Emilia looked at him, confused. From the floor, Nox groaned. "Those guys!" Emilia released him and ran to Nox's side. She dropped to the floor, clutching his manacled hands to her chest. "Nox, can you hear me?" She swept the hair from his forehead, letting her fingers trace his jaw. "Nox!" Nox's eyes fluttered open under heavy lids. "Emilia!" he whispered with such reverence Terran's mouth went dry. In truth, Terran wouldn't have known his friend if not for Emilia. Nox's body lay brutalized, his legs set at odd angles. His chest caved in unnaturally, and his face was distorted beyond recognition. How is he still alive? They had seen him swallowed by the earth itself back in Ricken. Now it looked as if the earth had its way with him and then spat him back to the living, broken beyond repair. Terran dropped to his knees, his own tears threatening to join Emilia's. "You're here," Nox mumbled, a hoarse whisper. "We are," Emilia said, stifling a choked sob. A twisted version of his half-grin pulled at the misshapen face. "I'm glad." His fingers twitched, and Emilia seemed to sense what he wanted and lifted his hand to her cheek. His thumb gently stroked her tears. "It's okay," he murmured. "I know." Sobs shook her shoulders. "I'm so sorry. I love you. I do." "Good," he whispered. A wider smile tried to break through thick, broken lips, and he chuckled. His breath wheezed and rattled as he fought to speak. "I love you, too." She leaned closer and gently kissed him. A dagger lanced through Terran's chest, guilt flaring. What have I done? Emilia pulled back from Nox and softly caressed his face. Nox pulled his eyes from Emilia with effort and met Terran's gaze. Their normal silver had dimmed to a dull gray. "Thank you." His voice was little more than a rasp. Terran pulled back as if he had been struck. No, Nox." His voice cracked with emotion. He wiped his eyes into his elbow and tried again. Nox grunted and interrupted. "Look after her. I love you both." Terran gave in to the torrent of emotion coursing through him and dropped next to Nox, touching his forehead to his. "As long as I have breath." A spasm rocked through Nox. There was no talk of trying to save him, of trying to move him. They all knew. Moving would only hasten death. Nothing could rescue a body so broken. "You need to go," Nox mumbled. Emilia let out a cry of protest and clung to him. Nox's eyes pleaded with Terran. "I can help." The air wheezed from his chest. Terran choked off a sob at the statement. "Listen," Nox insisted. "I learned something about the sky." In a barely audible whisper, he related everything between gasping breaths. Emilia kept glancing between them, as if trying to make sense of what was being said. As he finished, Nox sagged, as if relieved of a great weight. Emilia squeezed his hands tighter, and Terran made the sign of fists over his chest. Strength flared once again in Terran's body, and he looked down at Nox's broken figure, marveling at the gift he was sharing. It defied logic. Emilia collapsed onto Nox, refusing to let him go. Nox seemed to muster all his strength and lifted his bound hand to Emilia's face. He spoke softly. Terran stood, giving the two a moment of privacy, even as Nox's last remnants of strength burned within his chest.